A chance encounter with a dying warrior. The sky burned crimson over the jagged peaks of the Blackridge wastes, a no-man's land of irradiated storms and forgotten wars. Jason Mercer had come here for one reason: salvage. The ruins of old human outposts still held valuable tech, if you were desperate enough to dig through the wreckage. And Jason, he was plenty desperate. His hoverbike hummed beneath him, its anti-grav stabilizers flickering as he navigated the treacherous terrain. The wind howled like a dying beast, carrying the scent of ozone and rust. Then, a streak of fire split the heavens. Jason barely had time to react before something slammed into the earth half a click away, sending a shockwave that nearly threw him from his bike. His heart pounded. Not a meteor. The impact pattern was wrong. Too controlled. Too artificial. Gritting his teeth, he gunned the engine and sped toward the crash site. The wreckage was still smoking. A sleek, obsidian-hulled vessel, definitely not human, lay half-buried in the cracked earth, its wings sheared off, its hull split open like a gutted beast. Jason approached cautiously, his hand resting on the plasma pistol at his hip. The air smelled of scorched metal and something else. Copper. Blood. Then he saw her. A towering figure sprawled in the wreckage, her armored form battered and bleeding. 7 feet tall if she stood, her skin a deep violet streaked with luminescent veins, her face angular and fierce even in unconsciousness. A warrior. An alien. And she was dying. Jason hesitated. This is a bad idea. Getting involved with off-worlders never ended well, especially ones who crashed in restricted zones. But the way her breath came in ragged, wet gasps. He couldn't just leave her. Damn it, he muttered, slinging his medkit off his back. She was worse up close. Her armor, some kind of bioengineered carapace, was fused to her skin in places, cracked and oozing blackish blood. One of her arms was bent at a sickening angle, and a shard of metal protruded from her ribs. Jason had seen combat medics work on wounded soldiers before, but this was something else. He activated his wrist scanner, the holographic display flickering as it tried to make sense of her alien physiology. Pulse erratic, blood pressure crashing. Whatever had shot her down hadn't just wanted her dead, they'd wanted her to suffer. "All right, warrior lady," he muttered, priming a dose of nanostimulants. "Let's see if human meds work on you." The injector hissed as he pressed it to her neck. For a second, nothing. Her eyes snapped open, gold-flecked, slit-pupilled, burning with pain and fury. Her hand lashed out, clamping around his throat with terrifying strength. Jason choked, his vision spotting as her grip tightened. "Who sent you?" she snarled, her voice a guttural rasp. Jason clawed at her wrist, gasping. "And no one. I'm just trying to help." Something in his voice must have registered. Her grip loosened just slightly. Her nostrils flared as she inhaled sharply, scenting him. Then, with a shuddering breath, her strength failed. She collapsed back, her hand falling away. "Why?" she demanded, her voice weaker now. Jason rubbed his throat, coughing. "Because leaving you here seemed like a shitty thing to do." A flicker of something, surprise, amusement, passed over her face before pain overtook her again. Her body convulsed, a fresh wave of black blood seeping from her wounds. Hey, stay with me." Jason grabbed his field cauterizer, adjusting the settings to maximum. "This is gonna hurt." She bared her fangs. "Do it." The searing hiss of plasma on flesh filled the air. She didn't scream, but her claws dug into the earth, carving furrows in the dirt as her body locked in agony. Night fell. Jason had managed to drag her to a nearby cave, the entrance hidden by the skeletal remains of an old dropship. The alien warrior, Kawarvaya, she'd finally growled when he asked, lay on a makeshift stretcher, her breathing steadier but still labored. You fight well. For a soft thing, she muttered, watching as Jason rigged a portable shield generator to keep the radiation out. Yeah, well, you're welcome, he shot back, wiping sweat from his brow. Harvey's gaze was sharp, assessing. You do not know what you have done. Jason paused. Saved your life. She exhaled, a sound like a blade being drawn. Among my people. To spare a warrior's blood is to claim responsibility for their strength. Their honor. Jason frowned. So. What? I'm your medic now. Her lips peeled back in something that wasn't quite a smile. Worse. A distant roar cut through the night. Engines, but unlike any human ship. The sky lit up with the eerie glow of approaching vessels, their silhouettes jagged and predatory. Harvey's eyes locked onto his. They are coming, and when they find us, they will either kill you or crown you. Jason's blood ran cold. Crown me what? Her answer was a whisper, heavy with fate. My husband. Why this works for HFI. Human ingenuity under pressure. Jason isn't a super soldier. He's a scavenger using whatever tech he has to save a life. Alien honor versus human compassion. The clash of cultures sets up future conflict. Kawarvaya's people value strength, but Jason's choice to save her despite the risk is inherently human. Immediate consequences. The arrival of her people creates instant tension. Will they see Jason as a savior or a threat? Mystery and danger. The vague but ominous implications of being crowned. Her husband hooked the reader for the next chapter. By our laws, you are now her mate. The alien ships descended like blades cutting through the night, their engines a deep, resonant hum that made the ground tremble. Jason's pulse pounded in his ears as he crouched beside Kawarvaya, his fingers tightening around his plasma pistol. You said they'd kill me, he hissed. Or crown me. Which is it? Kawarvaya's golden eyes flickered with something unreadable. Pain, amusement, grim resignation. That depends on whether they believe you acted with honor or pity. Before Jason could demand a clearer answer, the cave entrance exploded inward in a blast of searing blue light. He barely had time to throw himself over Kawarvaya as debris rained down, shielding her from the worst of the impact. When the dust settled, armored figures stood silhouetted in the ragged opening, towering broad-shouldered warriors clad in the same obsidian carapace as Kawarvaya, their faces hidden behind snarling, bestial helmets. The lead warrior stepped forward, his voice a modulated growl. Who dares lay hands upon a daughter of Carax? Jason swallowed hard but didn't back down. I saved her life. A ripple passed through the warriors. The leader tilted his head, studying Jason with eerie stillness. Then, in one fluid motion, he removed his helmet. Jason's breath caught. The alien's face was a map of scars, his features as sharp as forged steel. His eyes the same molten gold as Kawarvaya's, but colder. Far colder. You interfered in her death. Jason's jaw clenched. Yeah. And I'd do it again. The warrior's nostrils flared. Then, without warning, he backhanded Jason across the face. The force of the blow sent him sprawling, his vision swimming. Kawarvaya snarled, struggling to rise. Enough, Varek. He is no enemy. Varek ignored her, looming over Jason. You do not understand the gravity of your actions, human. By the law of blood and bond, the life you spared is now yours to guard. You have taken responsibility for her strength, and in doing so, you have tied your fate to hers. Jason wiped blood from his lip. What the hell does that mean? Verek's lips peeled back in a humorless smile. It means you are her husband now. Silence. And laughter. Not from the warriors. Not from Kawervaya. From Jason. He couldn't help it. The sheer absurdity of it. Crashing into this mess, saving a warrior he didn't know, and now being told he was married to her, was too much. Verek's expression darkened. You mock our ways. Jason forced himself to stop, shaking his head. No. Look, I didn't know about your laws. I just saw someone dying and helped. That's it. Parvia spoke then, her voice weaker but firm. He speaks truth, Verek. He knew nothing of our customs. Verek's gaze flicked between them. Then, with a slow, deliberate motion, he drew a curved blade from his belt and pressed it into Jason's hand. Then let him learn. Jason stared at the weapon, a wicked, serrated thing that hummed faintly as if alive. Verek leaned in, his breath hot against Jason's ear. You have two choices, human. Prove yourself worthy of this bond in the trial of the claimed, or die here now as an oathbreaker. Jason's grip tightened on the blade. And if I refuse? Verek smiled. Then Kawervaya dies with you. For her honor is now tied to yours. Parvia's eyes met Jason's. There was no fear in them, only challenge. Jason exhaled. Fine. Let's do this. Why this works for HFI. Culture clash at its best. Human instinct, save a life versus alien tradition, ownership through battle. No easy outs. Jason can't just walk away. His choice to save her has consequences. Immediate stakes. The trial of the claimed sets up the next big action sequence, forcing Jason to prove himself. Parvia's agency. She's not a passive prize. She's just as bound by these laws as Jason is. Next steps. The trial. A brutal public test where Jason must fight to prove his worth. Parvia's loyalty. Does she resent him for this, or does she see potential in him? The wider conflict. Who shot her down in the first place? Humanity's hidden strengths shine. The trial of the claimed was not fought in some sterile arena. No, the Caraxi did things the old way, the blood way. Jason stood at the edge of a sunken pit in the heart of the alien warship, its walls carved with spiraling glyphs that told stories of ancient champions and their bonded mates. The air reeked of ozone and sweat, and the low, rhythmic chanting of the warriors surrounding him sent a primal chill down his spine. Opposite him, Verek removed his helmet, revealing a face that was more scar than flesh. You will face me, human, he growled. If you survive, the bond stands. If you fall. His golden eyes flicked to Kawervaya, who stood rigid at the edge of the pit, her claws digging into her palms. She dies with you. Jason tightened his grip on the humming alien blade. He wasn't a swordsman. He wasn't some legendary warrior. But he was human. And humans had a habit of winning fights they had no business surviving. The fight began without ceremony. Verek moved like liquid shadow, his blade a silver blur. Jason barely dodged the first strike, feeling the wind of it kiss his throat. The second came faster, a downward slash meant to split him in half. He caught it on his own blade, the impact rattling his teeth. The Caraxi warriors roared their approval. Verek bared his fangs. You are slow. Weak. Jason grinned, blood trickling from a cut on his brow. Yeah. But I'm still standing. He feinted left, then dove right. Not at Verek, but at the wall of the pit. His boots hit the carved stone, and for one impossible second, he ran along it, using the momentum to flip over Verek's head. The alien's chanting stuttered into shocked silence. Human agility. Zero gravity training from the outer colonies. Jason landed behind Varek and swung, but the warrior was already turning, their blades locking with a shower of sparks. Clever, Varek admitted. But cleverness does not win wars. Jason's arms trembled under the strain. No, but it sure as hell evens the odds. He was losing. Blood dripped from a dozen shallow wounds, and his breath came in ragged gasps. Varek hadn't even broken a sweat. Then Garvia's voice cut through the noise. Fight like a human, Jason Mercer. He risked a glance at her. Her eyes burned with something fiercer than anger. Expectation. Fight like a human. Not like them. Not with their strength, their honor-bound rules. Like a human. Varek charged. Jason let go of the blade. The alien weapon clattered to the ground. The warriors gasped. Even Varek hesitated. His strike faltering for a fraction of a second. That was all Jason needed. He lunged forward not with a weapon but with his hand, straight for Varek's throat. The warrior snarled, swatting it aside easily. Only for Jason's other hand to slam something against his chest. Human weapon. Plasma charge set to overload. The beeping was loud in the sudden silence. Varek froze. Jason grinned. Yield. The aftermath was chaos. The Caraxi warriors erupted, some in outrage, others in grudging respect. Varek stared at the blinking charge stuck to his armor, then at Jason. This is not honor. Jason shrugged. It's survival. For a long moment no one moved. Then slowly, Varek reached up and ripped the charge free, crushing it in his fist. The explosion was contained by his armored grip, flames licking between his fingers harmlessly. You fight without pride, he spat. No, Kewarvaya interrupted, stepping forward. He fights to win. The crowd parted as she strode to Jason's side, her claws resting on his shoulder. And by our laws, he has proven his worth. Varek's jaw tightened. But after a tense silence, he gave a single sharp nod. The bond stands. Why this works for HFI. Humans don't fight fair. Jason uses agility, creativity, and sheer audacity to outmaneuver a stronger foe. Alien reactions. The Caraxi are forced to confront the fact that human weakness is its own kind of strength. Parvaya's loyalty shift. She begins to see Jason not as a burden, but as something valuable. Set up for future conflict. Varek's humiliation won't be forgotten. This rivalry is just beginning. Next moves. The aftermath. How does Jason's victory change his standing among the Caraxi? Parvaya's perspective. Does she start teaching him their ways, or does she push him to embrace his human instincts? The bigger threat. Who shot her down, and why are they coming for him now? A galactic war and the humans' unconventional tactics. The Caraxi Empire was at war. Not with petty raiders or rebellious colonies, but with the Drethkar, a swarm-like species that consumed worlds like locusts stripping a field. Their ships were living horrors, their soldiers more machine than flesh, and they had already scoured 3 Caraxi border systems to ashes. And now they were coming for Carax Prime. Jason stood in the war room of the Dreadblade, Coarvia's flagship, surrounded by holographic star maps and scowling alien commanders. His marriage had earned him a place at the table, but the glares from the warlords made it clear they still saw him as an outsider. Varek's voice cut through the murmurs. The Drethkar fleet will reach the Nicro's belt in 3 cycles. We meet them there, full assault. Jason studied the tactical display. The Caraxi plan was straightforward. A hammer blow of warships, warriors boarding enemy vessels, and victory through sheer ferocity. It was also suicidal. The Drethkar outnumbered them 5-1. Jason cleared his throat. There's another way. Every golden eye in the room locked onto him. Varek's lip curled. The human speaks. Do you have wisdom to share, or just more cowards' tricks? Parvea's claws dug into the table. Let him speak. Jason zoomed the display to a nearby nebula. The Drethkar track ships by energy signatures, right? So we give them a false target. He outlined his plan. A decoy fleet rigged with overloaded reactors, luring the enemy into the nebula's ion storms where their sensors would blind them. Then hit them with hit-and-run strikes. Not with Caraxi boarding parties, but with scrambled drones salvaged from human wreckage. We don't fight them head-on, Jason said. We make them chase ghosts until they're scattered. Then we pick them apart. Silence. Then laughter, deep mocking. You would have us hide. A warlord spat. I'd have you win, Jason shot back. Parvea's eyes burned. The Drethkar have beaten us at every turn. Perhaps it is time to try something else. Varek slammed a fist on the table. This is not our way. No, Jason said quietly. It's mine. The Battle of Nicro's Belt. The Caraxi fleet split. The decoys, older ships stripped of crews, raced ahead, their reactors burning unnaturally bright. The Drethkar swarm surged after them, hungrily, predictably. Then the trap sprang. The decoys detonated in the heart of the nebula, the explosions triggering chain reactions in the volatile gases. Ion storms erupted, blinding the Drethkar sensors. And from the chaos, the real Caraxi fleet struck, not in a single glorious charge, but in rapid, vicious strikes. Human-made drones, jury-rigged with plasma cutters, sliced into enemy hulls, sowing confusion. Jason watched from the bridge as the Drethkar floundered, their formations crumbling. Varek stared at the carnage, his voice hushed. This is not battle. This is a slaughter, Kewarvaya finished, grinning. Why this works for HFI. Human ingenuity. Jason's tactics are unthinkable to the honor-bound Caraxi, but undeniably effective, turning weakness into strength. The Caraxi's disdain for cowardly tactics becomes their salvation. Parvea's growth. She begins to embrace flexibility over tradition, bridging their cultures. Galactic stakes. This isn't just a skirmish, it's a turning point in a war. What's next? Varek's redemption. Does he grudgingly accept Jason's methods, or double down on tradition? The Drethkar's revenge. They'll adapt. How does the war escalate? Jason's legacy. Does he become a strategist, a leader, or something else entirely? You were the missing piece. A new era of alliance. The victory at the Nicro's Belt was more than a battle won. It was a galactic revelation. News of the Caraxi triumph spread like stellar fire, carried by merchant ships, mercenary bands, and the hushed whispers of empires who had long considered the Drethkar unstoppable. And at the center of it all, human. Jason Mercer stood in the grand atrium of Carax Prime, the vaulted ceilings alive with holographic banners depicting the battle. The air thrummed with the deep, resonant chants of Caraxi warriors, but this time their voices carried his name. Mercer. Mercer. Kewarvaya stood beside him, her armor polished to a mirror sheen, her claws resting possessively on his shoulder. They sing for you, she murmured, her voice thick with pride. Jason shook his head. They sing for the victory. For your people. She turned him to face her, her golden eyes blazing. No. They sing for the human who fought like no Caraxi ever could. Across the atrium, Varek approached. The scars on his face seemed deeper in the shifting light, but his stance was no longer hostile, just wary. Respectful. Your tactics were effective, he admitted grudgingly. Jason smirked. High praise coming from you. Varric bared his fangs, not in a snarl, but the closest thing to a smile Jason had ever seen from him. Do not let it go to your head, human. The war is not yet over. Which is why, boomed a voice from the shadows, we must speak of the future. The crowd parted as High Warlord Draxus emerged, his massive frame clad in ceremonial battleplate, his presence silencing the room. He stopped before Jason, studying him with ancient, calculating eyes. For centuries, the Caraxi have stood alone. We believed strength was purity, that to dilute our ways was to invite weakness. His gaze flicked to Corvea. But you, human, have proven otherwise. A holographic star map flared to life above them, showing the Drethkar's advance, and the systems still under threat. We cannot win this war alone, Draxus said. And neither can your people. Jason's pulse spiked. You're proposing an alliance. I am proposing more, Draxus corrected. A merging of minds, of methods. He gestured to the map. The Drethkar adapt. So must we. Your human fleets lack our firepower, but your cunning is unparalleled. Corvea's grip tightened on Jason's shoulder. Together, she said, we could end this. The weight of the moment settled over Jason. This wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about legacy. He exhaled sharply. Then let's get to work. Why this works for HFI. Humanity's place in the galaxy. Jason's actions force a warrior culture to recognize humans as equals, not despite their differences, but because of them. Corvea's role. She becomes the bridge between two worlds, her loyalty no longer torn but unified. Varric's growth. His acceptance shows that even the staunchest traditionalists can change. The stakes rise. This isn't just about one battle. It's about reshaping the galactic order. What comes next? The human Caraxi war machine. How do their combined forces revolutionize warfare? The Drethkar's countermove. What horrors have they been hiding? Jason's destiny. Does he remain a strategist, or is he destined for something greater?